Hi, I'm Don. Welcome to my channel. Today I'll give you my impressions on this MG Gunner Zaku Warrior. I'm not sure if I could do this often. I mean, doing kit reviews for kits because I'm going to be really busy with painting, with dioramas, and with mods. Besides, there's a ton of reviews of kits here already. Reviews from snapfitters and collectors. However, I thought people might like to hear impressions and reviews of actual modelers like me. So let's give it a try. I used the Vallejo Flexi Sanders and the Vallejo stencil blades for most of this build. I have like 10 art knives already, but I find the most control with the stencil blades. I'm halfway done with the snap fit when I did this video, when I decided to do this video. But anyways, it was a good build. There is so much movement with the skirts. It's really nice. That's going to be great for posing the legs. You could see the gimmick at the bottom part of the lower torso. I mean, where the legs attaches, so that you could pose it. It could throw its legs forward further. Then you could see the articulation of the waist and the head. Be careful though with the chin, lower chin, because it will scratch the chest part once you've painted it already. Then, of course, the boosters at the back are moving. This is a great kit, actually. My main concern with this kit, it's actually a major concern if you're a modeler, is that all of the sprue marks or knob marks are located, not all, most, are located on the bevel sides of the armors, which is very tricky to sand if you don't know the technique or you were careless at some point when sanding. For some reason, I have the most control with the stencil blades. Not because they're Vallejos. I mean, you can find alternatives as long as you get those really small blades. I have better control with these blades than the usual art knives. With a bit of practice and the proper angle, sometimes I could chop off the knob marks without needing to sand them. Check the manual carefully when cutting male pegs, but for this kit, I've cut most of the male pegs. Cutting the male pegs will help anyone to detach the pieces again once you start mods or painting. Seamline alert on the inner side of the lower leg. It clamps together and there's a huge seam line there. Need to think of something so that I won't have to deal with that seam line. I'm using the Flexi Sander with a 600 and 1000 grit size. But if you don't plan to paint this, later you'll have to sand it with 2000 grit or higher depending on the finish that you want. Seam line alert again, there's also a seam line across the upper leg part. So I'll have to do something with that to not deal with it. This booster at the back at the lower part of the legs is a bit loose, so be careful with it. If you made the edge a bit soft due to sanding, you could try to save it by scraping your art knife across the bevel part. Do not press the flexi sander to the kit too much. You just sand in light strokes. If you want to shave off faster, you just sand faster, but do it in light strokes. I really love that you don't need to do small pipes. You don't have to clean up small pipes for the cables of the Zaku. But the mold lines are a bit tricky. Of course, you have to clean up the nub marks. But if you look at the other side of these pipes, there, it has designs that looks like mold lines but are actual designs. It's either you be really careful with those or ignore them totally and just sand the nub marks. Seamline alert again on the bicep part of the kit, the upper arm. I really do find the most control with these small stencil blades. Sometimes I don't even have to sand them anymore. The position of the numb marks is really my concern with this kit. If you're not careful, that will be very difficult to sand. You might smoothen the bevels of the armor. The Flexi Sander will help you sand those snub marks off because they're a bit thick and easier to handle, but it's a matter of positioning them at the right angle so that you won't sand off or you won't smoothen the armor edges. Always sand in light strokes. Do not press the Flexi Sander towards the kit too much. If you want to shave off the material faster, just sand faster. Mold lines like in this part, the easiest way is to scrape them off with your art knife. With this one, you could use the bigger art knives, but I opted to use these stencil blades. So you just scrape it off lightly in light strokes again. Then later you'll have to sand it with a normal sandpaper, a wet sandpaper, so that it will conform to the shape of the piece. Because of the shape of this piece, I opted to use my fingers to and a wet sandpaper to lightly shave off those mold lines. This piece, I cleaned all of the num marks so that they will fit really nice together once I attach them all together. I opted to cut the male pegs of the other side. Cut the male pegs in an angle around 45-35 degree angle. Don't be afraid to cut them. If you cut too much and it's going to be really loose, you could just, once you finish the whole thing, once you finish painting and doing the final assembly, you could just put a drop of Elmer's glue, white glue, so that it will be stiff again. Cutting and cleaning round armor parts is the same. I had pretty much good control with the stencil blades. Then I sanded them off with the flexi sanders. I sand lightly and along the shape of the piece. This piece I also cut mill pegs like this one so that I have an option to paint them in a different color and it's going to be easy to remove again. You don't really have to cut the mill pegs if you don't plan to paint your kit, but it's really helpful when you need to detach the pieces again. The smaller pieces like this one, which have mold lines, you just need to scrape it off with your art knife. Again, scrape off in light strokes until you fully remove the mold lines. Again, if you plan to paint your kit, cut all the male pegs. For example, on this part, if you don't want to do masking, I suggest you cut the male pegs so that you could remove it again and paint them individually. This huge male peg is a bit hard, but it could be done. Surprisingly, this drum doesn't have seam lines. Seam line alert again, of course, as expected for the gun. And there's two parts that need seam line removal, so make sure to cut the male pegs. The kit is beautiful. I really love mono eyes, and this is one of the most beautiful Zaku MGs that I've built so far. And the size, the proportions, the long legs, the overall build, the design, it's really nice. The strong points of this kit are the joints of the gun to the backpack and the joints of the shield to the armor part. It's really sturdy and it holds the pieces really well. Seam lines on the guns are expected, but there are no seam lines on the barrel. The big drum doesn't have seam lines. You get the usual transparent part, which I almost never use. Then, of course, the stickers, which again I never use. Then you have this wire cable that attaches from the backpack to the big gun. I did not attach it because I'll be painting this first before I attach those. Then you have six extra hands. I did not snap fit some red parts on the big gun because those will be really difficult to remove before painting. So we'll attach them once I painted the kit and all those pieces. Then I also did not attach some of the boosters on the leg parts. Again, that will be very difficult to remove. We'll just add those once I painted those pieces. That's it. The kit is really nice. It's tall. The proportions are really good. The joints on the big gun and the joints on the shield to the left shoulder armor part is really good and stiff. My main gripe would be the nub marks along the bevel areas of the armors and the seam line along the legs, the upper leg and lower leg, and the seam line along the bicep area. So I'll have to think of something to remedy that. But overall, the kit is really good and it's really nice. But we're running out of time. This video has been too long already. I hope you find this informative. If people find this informative, I'll do more of these kinds of videos. So, but I can't promise because I'm really focused on painting, modding, and dials. So, again, this is Don. Thanks for visiting my channel. I hope you like the video. Please don't forget to subscribe. Saludos!